She thought the new year would begin with a proposal, but instead, it began with betrayal. At midnight, as fireworks lit up the sky, Alana overheard the man she loved whispering to another woman. 3 years of love shattered in a single night. But what she didn't know was that when the smoke cleared, someone else was waiting to show her what real love looked like. Welcome to Mr. Roberts Stories. If you love gripping tales of love, betrayal, revenge, and shocking twists, you've just found your new home. Here, every story will pull you in, make your heart race, and leave you guessing until the very last word. Now, here's the deal. Watch till the end because the best surprises are always saved for last. And if you enjoy the story, don't forget to hit that like button, drop a comment to share your thoughts, and subscribe so you never miss another unforgettable story. Every story on Mr. Roberts Stories isn't just something you watch. It's something you feel, something that stays with you long after the video ends. So, sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's story. Trust me, you're going to want to watch every second. This is Mr. Roberts Stories, where every story is an experience. The city was alive, dressed in sequins of light and sound. It was New Year's Eve in Manhattan, and the streets pulsed with anticipation. Bars spilling with laughter, couples wrapped in fur coats, strangers clinking glasses as though hope itself had been bottled in champagne flutes. But for Alana Pierce, the night carried a heavier heartbeat. Her reflection stared back at her from the hotel's gilded mirror. A black woman with a figure draped in emerald silk, her skin glowing against the satin fabric, her curls pinned into an elegant updo. She looked beautiful, stunning even, but her hands wouldn't stop trembling as she clasped her diamond earrings. Tonight was supposed to be her night. Her boyfriend Ethan Cole had been preparing this gala for weeks. A man born into wealth, he had the kind of smile that opened doors and the kind of charm that made people ignore the coldness in his eyes. Alana had been with him for 3 years, and though their worlds had always felt mismatched, his a realm of socialites and boardrooms, hers of art galleries and soulful music, she believed they were growing toward a shared future. Everyone whispered about an engagement. Ethan had been vague, careful with his words, but when he told her to, "We're something unforgettable tonight," her heart had soared. "New year, new beginning," she whispered to herself in the mirror, practicing the smile she hoped would hide her nerves. The ballroom glittered like a dream. Golden chandeliers spilled light over a sea of tuxedos and gowns. Crystal glasses chimed against each other as waiters glided by with trays of oysters and champagne. Music hummed from a live jazz band, setting a rhythm that tugged at the edges of Alana's heart. At the center of it all stood Ethan. His white suit was tailored to perfection, his sandy hair catching the light as he shook hands with investors, politicians, and anyone powerful enough to be worth his attention. When his blue eyes finally found Alana across the room, he smiled, the kind of smile that could disarm an army. "There you are," he said, pulling her close to his side. His lips brushed her cheek, polite and practiced. "You look stunning." Her chest warmed, though the kiss felt more like a presentation than intimacy. She nodded toward the small crowd watching them, whispering, "They're staring." "They should," Ethan replied with a smirk. "You're the most beautiful woman here." The words were sweet, but his eyes had already drifted away, to the mayor shaking hands with his father. The night unfolded in glitter and applause. Alana tried to ignore the distance she felt, sipping champagne, dancing with Ethan when he beckoned, laughing at conversations that bored her. Still, she couldn't silence the small voice whispering inside her, "Something's wrong." It wasn't until she stepped outside onto the balcony for air that her suspicions sharpened into dread. The cold wind kissed her bare shoulders, sending goosebumps across her skin. She leaned against the railing, staring at the city below. From here, New York looked alive and infinite. People were gathering in the streets, waiting for midnight, waiting for fireworks to declare a new year. Her moment of peace was broken by Ethan's voice, low, urgent, almost panicked. She froze. He was just beyond the balcony doors, half hidden in the shadows, phone pressed to his ear. "She can't find out tonight?" he whispered harshly. "No. I'll handle it after the party. Just be patient." Alana's stomach clenched. Her pulse quickened as though the city lights themselves were crashing inside her chest. Who was he talking to? Her instinct screamed to step forward, to demand answers, but her body betrayed her. She remained frozen, listening, her breath clouding the air. "Yes," Ethan said after a pause. "I promise. This isn't the night." Alana's heart shattered against her ribs. "She can't find out tonight." The words replayed in her head like a broken record. When Ethan slipped back into the ballroom, smoothing his suit as if nothing had happened, Alana finally exhaled. The sound came out broken, almost a sob. She forced herself to rejoin the party, plastering a smile on her face. The countdown to midnight was nearing, voices rising in excitement. Guests gathered near the grand stage where Ethan stood, champagne glass raised. "To the year ahead," he declared. "May it bring success, love, and everything we dream of." The crowd erupted in cheers. Alana clapped along, her smile stiff, her throat aching. When Ethan turned and pressed his lips against hers at the stroke of midnight, she tasted not love, but the bitter aftertaste of lies. Fireworks exploded beyond the glass windows, red, gold, and silver bursting across the sky. The guests roared with joy, couples kissing passionately as though sealing their futures in fire and smoke. But Alana only felt hollow. Still in that hollow space, a strange, quiet strength stirred. She slipped her hand from Ethan's grasp, stepping back just enough to feel the independence in her own body. And that's when her eyes caught another gaze, steady, warm, watching her from across the room. A man she didn't know. Dark hair, simple suit, no pretense in his expression. His eyes weren't hungry like the others, weren't filled with judgment or calculation. They were curious kind. For just a second, as the last firework bloomed across the night sky, Alana felt seen, not as Ethan's accessory, not as the woman everyone expected to be proposed to, but as herself. The spark was small, fleeting. But it was enough to remind her, this night wasn't only about endings. It could also be the start of something unexpected. And though she didn't know his name yet, though her heart was still raw from the words she had overheard, Alana suddenly believed the new year might still have something beautiful waiting for her. The echo of fireworks still lingered in Alana's ears long after the last spark faded from the sky. Inside the ballroom, the air was thick with laughter, perfume, and the sugary tang of champagne. People clung to one another as if holding on to promises of a brighter year. But Alana couldn't feel any of it. She stood among them, smiling when expected, nodding when spoken to, but her heart was running laps in her chest. Ethan's kiss at midnight, once something she had looked forward to for weeks, now felt like a curtain pulled across a stage hiding a darker play. "She can't find out tonight." The words haunted her. She clutched her glass tighter, the chilled stems slick against her palm. Ethan was across the room, laughing with his business associates, his polished grin convincing the world that he was the golden boy of Wall Street. To everyone else he looked untouchable. To her he now looked like a stranger. She slipped away, weaving through clusters of dancers and well-wishers until she found refuge in one of the quieter corridors leading toward the coat check. Her heels clicked against the marble floor, echoing louder than she liked. She needed space. Answers. Her phone buzzed in her clutch, startling her. For a moment she thought, hoped, it might be Ethan sending something sweet to smooth over his distracted behavior. But when she pulled it out, it was nothing more than a New Year's mass text from her mother back home in Atlanta. "Happy New Year, baby girl. This year's yours." Alana's throat tightened. She almost typed back, "Not sure about that, mama," but deleted the words. Instead, she sent a simple heart emoji, her chest aching at the thought of what her mother would say if she knew the truth. Would she tell me to run? Or to fight for him? Alana wasn't sure she had the strength for either. Her steps carried her toward the private lounge adjoining the ballroom. She pushed open the door, expecting silence, but froze the moment she heard Ethan's voice again. This time, she wasn't on a balcony with fireworks to muffle his words. He was seated in one of the leather armchairs, phone tilted away from view, his expression tense. "I told you it's not the right time," he muttered, running a hand through his hair. "Don't you think I know what I'm doing? Just give me a few more weeks." Alana's pulse thundered. She ducked back behind the doorframe, body pressed against the cool wall. "Yes, I love you too," Ethan whispered. The words sliced through her like glass. Her grip on her clutch faltered and she almost dropped it. She clamped her free hand over her mouth, holding back a gasp. Well, he told another woman he loved her. It wasn't just business. It wasn't just some social maneuver. He was betraying her. When Ethan ended the call, his footsteps moved closer. Alana spun, retreating down the corridor before he caught her eavesdropping. She ducked into the coat check, pretending to fix her dress. Her mind was screaming. What do I do? Confront him now? Wait until tomorrow? Walk away in the middle of his party and let the whole city gossip about us? She felt trapped, like the air itself was closing in, smoke filling her lungs. By the time she returned to the ballroom, her face was a mask again. Ethan was already there, swirling champagne, his charm undisturbed. When his eyes found hers, they softened as if nothing was wrong. He moved toward her, slipping an arm around her waist. "You disappeared," he said lightly. "Miss me already?" Alana forced a laugh, the sound brittle. Just needed some air. Well, Ethan whispered, kissing her temple, don't wander too far. Tonight's about us. The audacity nearly made her choke. She wanted to scream. You just said you love someone else. Instead, she nodded, eyes flicking past him. And there he was again, the stranger she had noticed at midnight. The man with dark hair and kind eyes. He stood near the bar, sipping something amber, his gaze meeting hers briefly before he looked away. His presence was quiet, grounded, so different from the chaos Ethan stirred inside her. For a heartbeat, she wondered if fate had put him there deliberately, to remind her there were still men who didn't carry secrets behind tailored suits. The night dragged on, and so did Alana's torment. She laughed when required, danced when pulled, but inside she was unraveling. Every time Ethan's phone buzzed, her stomach twisted. Every time he excused himself for business, her chest burned. By 2 a.m., most of the guests had spilled out into the streets, carrying confetti in their hair and champagne in their veins. The grand ballroom had dulled, the jazz slowing to softer notes. Alana finally caught Ethan alone near the stage, tucking his phone back into his pocket. Her chance. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook when she said, "Who were you talking to earlier?" Ethan blinked, caught off guard. "What do you mean?" "On the phone. Twice. Once on the balcony. Once in the lounge." His jaw tightened. "Alana, not here." Her heart hammered. "Then when?" "Because I'm not starting my new year with lies." For the first time that evening, Ethan's polished exterior cracked. His lips parted, but no words came. His silence said more than any excuse could. And in that silence, Alana knew that the man she had given 3 years of her life to had already handed his heart to someone else. Her eyes blurred with tears, but she wouldn't let them fall. Not here. Not in front of him. She straightened her back, her emerald gown shimmering under the last of the ballroom lights. "If you can't even tell me the truth," she whispered, "then there's nothing left to say." She turned before he could answer, before he could reach for her, before the tears betrayed her strength. The night air outside was cold, biting against her skin. She didn't care. She needed the sting, needed something real. And as she walked down the empty street, heels clicking against pavement, a voice called softly behind her. "Are you okay?" She turned. It was him, the stranger from the bar. His coat collar was pulled high against the winter wind, his dark eyes filled not with pity, but with genuine concern. For the first time all night, Alana's chest eased. The smoke of betrayal still choked her, but here was a flicker of something else, something cleaner, warmer. "No," she admitted quietly, her voice breaking. "But maybe I will be." And with that, the night didn't feel so suffocating anymore. The first week of the new year should have felt fresh, filled with new beginnings, but for Alana Pierce, the days crawled by heavy and brittle, like glass threatening to shatter under her every step. She had managed to avoid Ethan since the gala, answering his calls with clipped excuses, ignoring his texts that swung between syrupy affection and veiled irritation. She told herself she needed time, but the truth was simpler. She wasn't ready to hear more lies. Yet she knew she couldn't run forever. So when Ethan insisted on seeing her at his penthouse the following Friday, she agreed, though her stomach churned with dread. The city outside was dusted with snow, sparkling like spilled diamonds against the dark. Alana's cab pulled up to Ethan's sleek high-rise building, its glass facade reflecting the sharp glow of winter street lamps. Her heels clicked across the marble lobby, echoing her hesitation. As she rode the elevator up, she rehearsed her questions in her head. Who is she? How long has this been going on? Was any of this real? The elevator chimed. The doors slid open to Ethan's world, polished, perfect, cold. He greeted her at the door in his usual tailored shirt, no tie, hair combed back with effortless precision. "Alana," he said, relief in his voice as he leaned forward to kiss her cheek. She turned her face just slightly so the kiss landed near her ear, impersonal. His smile faltered. "Can we talk?" she said, stepping past him into the penthouse. The living room gleamed with modern furniture and expensive art, but the warmth of home was absent. It had always felt like a showroom, not a sanctuary. Ethan poured himself a drink and turned, the glass catching the light. "I don't like how things ended at the gala," he began. "You misunderstood what you heard." Her heart tightened. "Then explain it to me." He sipped his whiskey slowly, buying time. "Business requires sacrifices. Sometimes personal ones." "Don't," Alana snapped, her voice trembling. "Don't hide behind business." "I heard you. I saw the message." His mask cracked. For a moment he looked like a boy caught in a lie. Then his jaw hardened. Fine. Yes, I've been seeing someone else. But you have to understand she's not just anyone. Her father is an investor. Their family is powerful. Alana finished for him, her voice bitter. That's what this is about? Power? Status. Ethan set down his glass, frustration flashing in his blue eyes. You wouldn't understand. I need someone who fits into this world. Someone who doesn't stick out every time I walk into a room. The words sliced through her, sharp and cruel. Alana's chest burned. So I'm what, Ethan? A placeholder? Someone to keep your bed warm until you landed the right woman? His silence answered her better than words could. Her throat ached, but she refused to cry in front of him. I gave you 3 years. I loved you. And you throw me aside because I don't fit your perfect picture? Ethan stepped closer, his hand reaching for her arm. Alana, don't make this harder than it is. You're amazing, but... She pulled back as if his touch burned. But not enough. That's what you're saying. He sighed, rubbing his temple. You'll see this is for the best. You'll find someone who... She cut him off, her voice shaking with fury and pain. Don't you dare patronize me. Don't you dare act like you're doing me a favor. The silence that followed was deafening. The city lights twinkled through the glass walls, mocking her with their careless beauty. Alana's chest heaved as she turned toward the door. She couldn't stay another second in that place in his presence. But as her hand gripped the handle, Ethan's voice came again, softer now. Alana, I did love you. She froze, her back to him. For a heartbeat, hope flickered. Hope that maybe this was all a nightmare, that maybe he'd fight for her. Then he added, but love isn't enough. Her hope died instantly. She opened the door and walked out without another word. The cold night air slapped her cheeks as she stepped outside. Her tears finally broke free, hot against her skin in the freezing wind. She walked aimlessly, heels crunching against the icy pavement, the city's neon blur reflecting in her wet eyes. Her illusion had shattered completely. The man she thought she would marry, the man she had trusted, wasn't hers anymore, maybe never had been. But as she turned down a quieter street, she saw him again. Marcus Hale. The stranger from the gala, the one with the kind eyes. He was leaving a small bookstore, a paper bag tucked under his arm. He almost walked past her, but when their eyes met, recognition lit his face. Alana? He asked, surprised but warm. Her breath caught. You remember my name? He smiled gently. Hard to forget someone who looked so out of place in that ballroom, but in the best way. Despite her tears, she let out a shaky laugh. That's one way to put it. Marcus tilted his head, studying her. Rough night? The question nearly undid her, but the way he asked it, without judgment, without intrusion, made her feel safe. She nodded, hugging herself. More than rough. He shifted the bag in his arm. Come on. There's a coffee shop still open down the block. It's not champagne and fireworks, but it's warm. And you look like you could use that more than anything. Alana hesitated. She didn't know him. He was a stranger. But something about his voice, steady and kind, felt like a lifeline in the storm. Okay, she whispered. They walked in silence, snowflakes swirling around them. Inside the cafe, warmth and the scent of cinnamon wrapped around her like a blanket. Marcus ordered 2 hot chocolates, not coffee, insisting, tonight calls for comfort, not caffeine. When he handed her the steaming cup, their fingers brushed. It was the smallest touch, but it sent a spark through her, the kind she hadn't felt in so long. They sat by the window, watching the snow drift under street lamps. For the first time in days, Alana's chest loosened. She sipped her drink and let herself breathe. Marcus didn't press her for details. He didn't ask for the story. He just sat there, quietly present, as though his very existence was enough to remind her that not all men lied with polished smiles. And when she finally dared to look at him fully, really look, she realized the night hadn't only destroyed something. It had also planted the fragile beginnings of something new. Something real. The cafe became Alana's small sanctuary in the storm. That night with Marcus stretched longer than she expected. 2 strangers sitting with mugs of hot chocolate, snow falling outside like confetti the world had forgotten to clean up after the New Year's party. She didn't tell him everything, but she told him enough. 3 years, she whispered, staring into the swirling foam of her drink. 3 years I believed in a man who didn't believe in me. Marcus leaned back, his gaze steady. That's not on you. She shook her head, bitter. Isn't it though? Maybe I was too blind. Maybe I wanted the fairy tale so badly I ignored the cracks in the glass. Wanting love doesn't make you blind, Marcus said softly. It makes you human. The words slid into her heart like balm on a wound she didn't know could ever heal. For the first time since Ethan's betrayal, she felt seen. The following days were a blur of pain and silence. Ethan texted her once, "I hope you're okay. This isn't easy for me either," but she didn't respond. She deleted his name from her phone, though her heart still clenched at the memory of it. Yet between the ache there was Marcus. He didn't push his way into her life, didn't overwhelm her with questions or demands. Instead, he appeared gently, like warmth returning to cold fingers. A message checking if she'd eaten. An invitation to join him for a walk in the park where the snow painted everything white and new. A shared laugh over silly things, the kind of laugh she had forgotten she could have. Alana found herself looking forward to those moments, though part of her feared it. Am I moving on too fast? Am I just using him to patch the hole Ethan left behind? But every time Marcus smiled at her, really smiled like she was the only person in the room, she knew it wasn't about replacing Ethan. It was about rediscovering herself. One evening, nearly 2 weeks after the gala, Marcus invited her to a rooftop gathering with some of his friends. It was nothing extravagant, string lights, folding chairs, the faint sound of music from a speaker, but it felt more alive than Ethan's gala ever had. "Sorry it's not a grand ballroom," Marcus said, handing her a mug of mulled cider. Alana smiled genuinely this time. "It's perfect." The night stretched on, filled with warmth and laughter. Alana watched as Marcus moved among his friends, effortlessly kind, not performing but simply existing. When he returned to her side, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders, she felt something stir in her chest. Something that scared her as much as it thrilled her. Later, when most of the guests had gone, only the two of them remained on the rooftop. The city below was quiet, its chaos softened by snow. Marcus leaned against the railing, his breath visible in the cold air. "Can I be honest with you?" Alana's heart skipped. "Please." He turned to her, his eyes gentle but serious. "I noticed you the night of the gala. You stood out, not because of the dress or the way everyone looked at you, but because you looked like you didn't belong there. Not in a bad way. In a better way. Like the room wasn't big enough for you." Her throat tightened. "Marcus, I don't want to push you," he continued. "I know you're healing. I know you've been hurt. But I also know that when you smile, really smile, it feels like the world shifts a little. And I'd like to be the man who sees that smile every day." The confession hung in the air, fragile and powerful. Alana's chest swelled with a storm of emotions. Fear. Hope. Longing. She thought of Ethan, of the years wasted, of the lies dressed as love. She thought of the girl she had been, waiting for a proposal under fireworks. Then she looked at Marcus. No tuxedo, no champagne glass, no promises gilded in gold. Just a man with honesty in his eyes and warmth in his voice. And she realized she wasn't afraid of the new year anymore. She stepped closer, her hand brushing his. "You make it sound easy." Marcus smiled softly. "Love isn't supposed to be complicated. People make it complicated. But at its core, it's simple. You show up. You choose each other. Every day." Her eyes blurred with tears, not of pain this time but of release. When he leaned in, hesitant, she met him halfway. Their lips touched softly, sweetly, like the first note of a song waiting to be written. The world didn't explode in fireworks. There were no chandeliers, no audience, no applause. Just snow falling quietly around them, and two hearts learning how to beat in rhythm again. As the night deepened, they sat together wrapped in the same blanket, watching the city lights flicker below. "I was so scared," Alana admitted, her head resting on his shoulder. "Scared that I wasn't enough. Scared that maybe no one could love me for me." Marcus pressed a kiss to her curls. "Then let me remind you every day until you believe it." Her chest ached in the best way. For the first time in weeks, Alana felt like she could breathe. She felt the pieces of her broken heart beginning to knit together. Not perfectly, not quickly, but stronger. And as the new year stretched out before her, she knew it wouldn't be defined by the man who broke her, but by the man who helped her rebuild. The fireworks of New Year's Eve had faded. The smoke had cleared. And in its place, a new flame burned quietly, steadily, bright enough to light her path forward. 3 months later, spring painted New York in soft pink blossoms and golden sunlight. The city, once cold and biting, now hummed with life again, an echo of Alana's own heart. She stood outside her small art studio, hands dusted with paint, the smell of turpentine and fresh flowers in the air. 4 years, her passion for painting had been pushed aside, dulled by Ethan's glittering world of business galas and empty promises. But now, the colors flowed from her brush like confessions she had kept locked inside. Her first gallery showing was only a week away. And this time the spotlight was hers. As she arranged canvases by the window, she caught sight of him. Marcus, waiting patiently on the sidewalk, 2 coffees in hand. He wore no tuxedo, no polished mask, just a simple shirt rolled at the sleeves, hair slightly tousled by the breeze. "Don't tell me you've been standing out there the whole time," she teased, opening the door. He grinned. "Guilty. I like watching you when you're lost in your work. You get this little crease in your forehead like you're solving the universe." She laughed, shaking her head as she took the coffee. "You're ridiculous." "And you love it," he replied easily, leaning down to kiss her cheek. The truth was she did. Later, as they walked hand in hand through the park, the trees alive with spring, Alana realized how far she had come. She had thought Ethan's betrayal would define her, that the shards of her broken trust would keep cutting her forever. But instead it had freed her. Freed her from the illusion of perfection, from the need to fit someone else's world. Now she was building her own. Marcus stopped suddenly, pulling her close beneath a cherry blossom tree. The petals drifted around them like soft snow. "You know," he said, brushing one from her hair, "the new year started rough. But I wouldn't trade it because it led me to you." Her chest tightened, but this time with joy, not pain. "Funny. I used to think fireworks were the only way to start fresh. Turns out, quiet moments like this are better." Marcus smiled, his forehead resting against hers. "Then let's make every day a new beginning." And as she kissed him under the rain of blossoms, Alana knew the truth at last. Love wasn't about dazzling lights or perfect images. It was about honesty, kindness, and finding someone who made even the simplest days feel like a celebration. The fireworks had faded, but her story had only just begun.